Continual Growth Podcast, where every week we bring you tips and tricks on how to kill every day and own your fucking life. I'm Bawanka, I'm your host. It's episode 50, and we about to bring that hot fire. So we're halfway to a century. We got a special guest today. You guys have probably heard from him before. Shout outs to Z, aka Zana. He's out here about to bring that hot fire with us today.
Thank you for that intro, brother.
Z, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing incredible. We haven't heard from you in a while. When was the last podcast you were on?
I think it was episode 32 or 33.
Okay.
It's been a few weeks.
We got a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So I'm gonna just let you start going and let the people know like where you've been, what's been going on, how's everything been.
Sure. So, I've been kind of quiet. I went kind of ghost mode. Wasn't really around, in general, right? I kind of had to go back into my shell and figure out a few things, but I think a lot of times in life we go through it experiencing a lot of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always heard the saying pressure makes diamonds, right? Which might be true when you're dealing with the raw elements that produce diamonds.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the raw elements or the foundation, if you want to call it, pressure's not going to produce diamonds. It's going to produce really negative results. Especially if that pressure doesn't just come from society, which I think everybody experiences.
Yeah.
But there's a certain level of pressure you put on yourself.
Yeah.
Right? And that comes from your upbringing and maybe a mixture of what you want out of life and the vision that you have for yourself. But I think for me it was just the realization that I was placing so much pressure on myself to try to live up to this standard that I created for myself of the best version of me and what that looks like in terms of my position in life, financial situation, investments, businesses, my social circle. I was taking consideration of all of that and trying to live up to this insane standard, and all that pressure got to me. It got to me. I cracked. You know what I mean? And this happened. I think it must have been maybe sometime late August. So this would have been shortly after probably the last episode that we did together. But I just cracked. I was in my own head, punishing myself for not living up to this standard that I created for myself.
And I know him we've been friends. For those of you that don't know me, and Z, we've been friends for 20 years. We grew up together.
Yeah.
We've been rocking with each other for a long time. And the one thing I know about you is you're just I can do anything. Whatever it is, I can do it.
Yeah.
So do you think that has something to do with it? Do you think maybe you're putting too much pressure on yourself with your goals, or where do you think this came from?
I had some really long conversations with my girlfriend, and she often talks about Laura. Her name's Laura. She often talks about doing a lot of internal work. So where you ask yourself questions and one of the things that she kind of challenged me to work through was where's this pressure coming from? Okay, I understand that you really feel that it's real, but where did it come from? Why are you putting this pressure on yourself? And when I was doing this exercise of asking myself why did I create this insane, and I'm talking insane standard, you know what I mean? And it comes from my upbringing, right? I grew up as a child of refugees.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I felt this obligation to be successful, to make my parents proud, make them feel it was worth it to go through insanely risky, dangerous situations to bring me to this country. So I felt I had to live up to this standard that I created to make them happy. And it was crazy, man. I in school I felt I had to be the top student or else I was a complete failure. And coming out of school I felt I had to be making the most money out of all my friends or else I was a complete failure. And it was all because I felt this obligation to want to take care of my family and be there for them so that they didn't have to worry and have the stresses that life brings on everybody.
Yeah.
And like it was just like this, like it evolved. It went beyond just like wanting to get a good, like have a good income and be successful from a financial point of view and all. It went to like, if I'm not a billionaire, I'm a fucking failure. You know what I mean? And like that's like a crazy standard. And it's not just money too. It's like, if you don't go to the gym every day, you're a failure. If you don't do the chores that you're supposed to do around the house, you're a failure. And I would just find things that like I felt like I had to be doing to live up to this like crazy standard. And if I wasn't meeting that standard, I was a failure. And it like spiraled in my mind, and it was just like building and building and building, and like I was trying to like dodge it or avoid it by like putting myself like headfirst into work or distracting myself some way, and it just cracked. You know what I mean? Like it just like hit me, and I was like, wow, that fucking sucks. And then like I had to do a lot of like digging within myself to try to figure it out.
And I think there's a lot of people going through very similar things.
For sure.
And it's because of like social media does this kind of shit to you.
True.
Like all it is just people showing their best life, and everybody's comparing their best life to someone else's best life, but really you don't know like how their life actually is.
You're so right, man. And like, and I'm 100% a victim of that. Like I would look up, like, cause I follow people that I find inspirational, that like it could be from the entrepreneurial world, from the self-development space, or it could just be like really interesting people. And I would see what they're doing and the way that they're living, and it's like they're always happy, and they're always like doing something. They're always on vacation. They're always like, yeah, I just closed a $10 million deal, or like just like always doing amazing things, right? And I would see that, and I would be like, yo, Z, like you got to be on that level. If you're not on that level, you're a failure, right? And when you start to look at life that way, it eventually like it's gonna take a huge toll on you, right? Like I wasn't able to enjoy the life that I built, like
because you were worried about like what's next.
Yeah, like and it's like it's like a crazy catch-22, because it's like, yeah, I appreciate like where I've come from and what I've accomplished in my life and the type of life that I live, but it was like that's pales in comparison to what these people are doing. And it was like you said, because of the images and the pictures and the videos and the things that I would see, it's like yo, I want that too. Like what's the difference between me and that person? Nothing. So if there is no difference between me and that person, then I'm a complete failure. But that's like totally discounting that person's had like tremendous amount of experience and like different types of situations that's helped them get to where they are. It's like maybe there is a lot of differences, and those differences like makes them like either more qualified or whatever the case might be. But there's also the flip side of it is like you said, people present their best life. They present like the perfect, pristine image, like go out for dinner and take like 1,000 photos so you can pick the one photo that is like supposedly candid and showcases you having a fantastic time, and you put a caption up that's like, yeah, like living my best life, and it's like, yeah, I see it looks like it, right? And like the point that you just made, it's true, because I think a lot of people suffer from comparing themselves. I know I did, but there's also that like sometimes I wonder, like, do these people, are they actually that happy? You know what I mean? And like,
you can
how
never,
can you know?
You can never know. You just gotta just worry about like what can I do? What can I do to get to where I want to go?
And I love that you just said that, because that was the realization that I had to come to, which was like, okay, cool. So after I did all this internal work, and I did it like literally like writing out, like I would write out my thoughts, right? Because I didn't want to just sit there and like try to process it, because it's hard to do. Like your brain's gonna, like, I'm gonna get distracted. There's like so many things that like could pull me in different directions. But if I write it down, it's like I can kind of see what I'm thinking and what I'm like.
Okay, so what are some of the things that you started writing out?
Sure. So it was like the first thing I did was like, okay, let me try to answer the question of like where did this pressure come from? Like why am I being so hard on myself? You know what I mean? And by writing out like, okay, it's because I want to have money. Well, why do you want to have money? It's because I want to have a lot of money. And why do you want to have a lot of money? It's because I want to be able to take care of my family and make my parents proud, so that they can say to their friends like, look what my son has done. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, okay, well, where does that come from? It comes from like growing up in we were poor, man. Like, we grew up in the same neighborhood, right? So like when you grow up poor, like all you want when you grow up poor is to just ball out. Like you just want all the money in the world. And you think that somehow that's going to make you happy, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're convinced that it's going to. And I realized that for me, it started from when I was a kid. And it started from that upbringing, like the type of life that I was living when I was a child.
Yeah.
And wanting to like exceed expectations. Because I know my parents had them, right? Like my parents didn't just come here just because, like, you know what I mean? Like they took tremendous risks to bring me here. So like for me to not try to make them happy and make them proud in what I thought would make them proud, like that's where it started from. And what I eventually started doing was like, okay, so let's take away that pressure for a second. What have you done? Like, what have you done since you were a kid?
So you did some reflection.
Some crazy reflection. And like I thought back to like, okay, so like I was a poor kid from the hood that went to university. Like a lot of guys in our neighborhood didn't go to university.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
Go to university.
You right what I'm saying? And and not to say that that's like end all be all, like you have to go.
Yeah, but growing up, like my mom used to always say to me, yo, you're going to university, you got, like, that was like the dream, is like go to university. That's the dream.
Right. And like in high school too, like that's all we were told by like teachers, our coaches who we respected. Like it was all about getting to the next level, getting to university.
Yeah.
And for me, like I look back on that and I'm like, yo, from my parents to come from a war-torn region to like go through the refugee camp experience, like some of the terrible things that happened to my dad to come over here, the sacrifices they made, the risks that they went through, the dangerous situations that they were in, like to grow from that to like we were poor Canadians, like poor.
Mm-hmm.
And growing up with that, and then like, yo, I made it to university, and then I graduated. Like I'm the first one in my family. Like that's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
And I never really took that in. Like I never really gave myself credit for that.
And I think a lot of times that happens to people because like when you do something, it becomes like it's normal. It's your norm.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you just think like, yo, this is supposed to happen. Like
Right.
because like I went and I did everything that I'm supposed to do, and then it happened. So it just seems normal once you've done it. But when you haven't done it, that's when it seems like that's hard. But you just gotta go through those things to get to the point where you're like, this is my normal.
It's true. Very well said. And what I ended up doing from there is like, okay, so from graduating from university, like I was the first person in my family to make more than $40,000 a year, right? I was the first person in my family to make 50, and so on and so on and so on, right? And then like building up my career, like all the experiences that I've had, building up my like wealth portfolio, building out like really great businesses with like we've been rocking for a long time with a bunch of different businesses, right?
Okay.
And like I went through that whole analysis of looking at all these different things and being like, yo, you're fucking killing it.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? Like and I had to like tell myself that, like, yo, you're killing it. Like I understand that you started this process feeling like a complete failure, but look at all the great things that you've done, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like it was like on paper, hoping, wishing. It was like actual things that actually happened that I did, right? And for me, it was kind of like this like aha moment after it all. Like to be more specific, what I did is I actually broke down like what did 2016 look like, right? Like what happened in 2016?
Mm-hmm.
Accomplishments, failures, all that kind of stuff, right? 2017, what happened? 2018, what happened? And I'm looking back and I'm just like, yo, you're doing great, man. Like you're 31. I understand you want to be a fucking billionaire.
Yeah.
You got runway. Like you got time.
Yeah.
You know, like keep growing, keep learning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And we talk about this a lot. Like it doesn't like you're always gonna find whatever you look for. So if you look for negative, you're gonna find like lots of negative things that happen in your life. And if you look for positive, you're gonna find lots of positive things that happen in your life. So it's all about just like perspective. So how are you looking at it? Because not that much is gonna change. The only thing that's really gonna change is just your mindset. Like, am I gonna look at the negative and then you're gonna be feeling that negative way, or should I look at the positive and then you can be feeling that positive way and ride that momentum?
100% true. Like you're so right, and it's like I remember I used to always hear Tony Robbins be like, "Where your focus goes, energy flows," right? And I'd be like, "What the fuck is he talking about? Like get out of here, man."
Yeah.
And then it clicked, right? And like you just kind of put it in like a really well put way, is that like during that time where I felt like a complete failure and I literally cracked and I was gone away from everybody for like weeks at a time.
Yeah.
right? So like, and I was like, I wouldn't see anybody, right? And then for me, it was kind of like, okay, so in that mind state, I realized like I wasn't going to the gym, I wasn't meditating, I wasn't reading, I wasn't like all the things that I enjoy that truly make me happy, I wasn't doing any of them. So not only was I feeling like a complete failure because of where my focus was going, where my perspective was,
Yeah.
I wasn't like doing anything to like pull myself out of it. And it's because my mindset was all fucked up.
Okay,
And then
so what are some of the things you started doing? Everybody's like, yo, what did you do, man? How did you do it?
yeah, for sure. So like after I did this like kind of self-reflective exercise,
Yeah.
where I like really just looked back on the last few years and appreciated like where I've come from, I felt a little bit better. Like just from doing that, I felt a little bit better. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm not a complete failure.
So you created a little bit of momentum.
I'm starting to feel it, right? So then I'm like, okay, cool. So now that I'm realizing that I'm not a complete failure, all those things that I accomplished, right? Whether it was in business, in fitness, in my relationships, in my network, all those things required action for them to happen, right? If I'm sitting here doing nothing with this shitty ass mindset, I'm not going to be able to get the momentum going, get back into like continuing the story, because eventually I'm going to have to do a reflection of next year and the year after that and the year after that.
Yeah.
So I got to position myself to be able to, at the end of that, look back and be like, I'm continuing to crush it. I'm continuing to kill it.
Yeah.
So in order for me to get to that state, I had to be like, all right, so I took action to do all those things. Now I need to take action again. But what action should I be taking? And then I realized like this is where goals come in, right? And it's stuff that like I knew before, but like when your mindset sucks, you just kind of don't think about it. So when I started to say, okay, let me look at these goals. Let me adjust where necessary so that it doesn't live up to this like crazy standard or like pressure.
Yeah.
And not to say that it was like low level goals that are very achievable. There's definitely like a stretch target to all of them. But I think what was killing me was that the stretch targets were so insanely like out of this world. You know what I mean? That like for me to scale it back a little bit to where it's like, okay, like what I think's possible plus a little bit more, just to kind of make sure that I'm aiming higher than what I expect.
Yeah.
It like released a little bit of the pressure. And then I'm like, all right, cool. So I have these goals. I have some clarity on what I want to accomplish in the next, 3 to 6 months.
So now you got even more momentum.
I'll get momentum. I'm feeling because clarity. There's a lot of like freedom that comes from that, because you're not just like chasing after random shit. You're like you got some like direction of where you want to go.
Yeah, I think it helps a lot with like decision making.
Absolutely.
When you know like exactly what you want, whenever like the opportunity comes for you to be like, should I take this opportunity or should I say no to it? You don't have that much to think about because you already know what you want, and then you either yes or no and you keep moving.
Definitely. And just to layer on top of that, like once you have that like ease with decision making, and then you narrow down on a decision, it's like, all right, cool. So now I got these like list of goals that I want to accomplish. Let's make an action plan. What's the action plan that's going to help me accomplish these things, right? And like, all your goals break down into different categories. But I looked like, and I'll use a simple example, like the gym, right? I want to get into really good shape, right? So for me to do that, like, I can't go to the gym once a week.
Yeah.
I gotta at least make it like 3 or 4 times. But I knew that if I wrote like, yo, I'm going to the gym 5 days a week or 6 days a week, it's like I'm gonna get myself into that same problem that I was in before.
Yeah.
I started slow. I said,
Back
okay,
to the basics.
back to basics. I'm like, yo, I know I can go at least 2 times. I know I can do 2. Because if I stick to Carlito's rule of never missing a Monday,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get at least Mondays in.
Yeah.
Now I got 6 days to get another workout in. Like, come on, like you can make this happen, right? So then once I started, like I think it was a couple weeks, I got two a week, and then a couple weeks later I'm at 3 a week, right? And I just slowly built it up to 4 a week, and to the point where it was comfortable, like it was routine for me to go, right?
Yeah.
And now I'm comfortably working out 5-6 days a week without that pressure. It's like I built the habit to support it, like the foundation's real strong,
Yeah.
right? So then because I'm gaining this momentum back, all my other habits, I started picking them back up again, started just like I'm in a groove again. You know what I mean? And like, I don't know if it's if it's just me, but I feel like I see the world differently. Like it's like I have this like renewed perspective of the world.
Yeah.
Like where I was feeling like a total shell of myself and like wanting to retreat into a dark place. Like I'm feeling alive. Like I wanna talk to other people and be like, yo, like I know what you're going through. Like I got a recipe that like you could steal bits and pieces from and put them to work. And like it's just like it all comes down to just habits, man, and like your goals and making sure that everything lines up and that you give yourself a little bit of like pat on the back, like, yo, you're doing it, bro, you're doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And appreciating the process, appreciating the journey, and like putting all those different pieces together and be like, all right, we're good, baby, let's rock, let's keep going.
Yeah, man. And I've been seeing like this whole journey that you've gone through, and right now, like, you look way more free, way more happy, way more confident. So
I appreciate that.
Shout outs to you.
Yeah, I appreciate
Happy that you put in the work and you're getting all the benefits now.
Definitely, and it's and like you said, like, you know, you and I go back years.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're my closest, like brother. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't call you my best friend. That's not enough of a word, right? You're my brother. You know, and like I was pretty open with you in late August, September about like these issues, and you were just like, you were there for me. Like you were like, yo, bro, I know you know the process. I know you know the steps. Like if you need help, I'm here. You know what I mean? And like I think watching you kind of continue to plug away on your goals inspired me to be like, yo, we grew up in the same neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
If Wonka's figuring this out and it's working for him and he's inspiring a bunch of people, just follow the path. You know what I mean? Like the individual goals are going to be different, but the process is the same. You know what I mean? Like come up with the goals, come up with the plan, work the plan, assess after a little while and make sure that the plan that you're using is working. Make adjustments
Consistency
and keep
over
going.
everything.
Yeah, man. No, and it's dope because it's like to see where I was in August and like how I was feeling. Like I really actually felt like life might not be worth living. Like that's where I was. Like I was in a dark place, and now I'm in this place of like, wow, life is beautiful. And when you put in work and have that clarity of what you want to accomplish out of life, and then you create that plan to get there and you work that plan and you see the results of that plan, like positive results happening, it's like exciting. There's like this fire that kind of grows deep inside you and it gets stronger and brighter and hotter, and it's like I can only get more and more excited for what the next 10 years looks like, but I'm not gonna get lost in what it looks like. I'm gonna work today on just focusing on today so that the future continues to look as bright as what I realized the past few years has been. It hasn't been a dark place. It was a great place. So
okay, so real quick, if you're listening to this, if you're enjoying this, you know this is episode 50 reunion, man. You gotta subscribe. Make sure to subscribe. It takes like less than 1 minute. You can go press it right now. Subscribe. Don't worry, this episode's not over. Z's gonna leave us with some hot fire. So Z,
okay.
after going through all this, you know, you went from that dark place to now you're fucking smiling like crazy, happy as hell, living your best life free. What is one tip that you would give someone who could be in a similar situation, comparing themselves to others, feel like they're just in a rough place and they need to get out of it? What are you gonna tell them?
You know, I think a lot of people that relate to the situation that I was talking about, and it's common, like you were saying, right? I think they've heard of the generic advice. You know, like if you need help, go get it, right? Like professional help. Because if you're in a really, really dark place, like it might not be like possible for you to pull yourself out of it without some help, right? And I think people know that. I think people know that like goals are important. I think people know that like they gotta put in work. I think we've enough of those messages have been put out there with us. I think the thing that I would try to communicate to people is like there's a process involved to you living your ultimate best life. You're not gonna just go from like you have these really shitty habits and a poor outlook on life with a poor mindset, suddenly wake up tomorrow and be like, yeah, I'm living my best life. Like there's a process to it, and appreciating that process and acknowledging that it's like, it doesn't mean that it's a process like a few weeks, a few months, a few years. Like this is a journey. Like life doesn't stop. It keeps going.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And creating a foundation for yourself so that you can over time evolve and grow and experience like who you're meant to become, that there's real happiness that comes from that. And I think that just respecting that and acknowledging that it's going to be a journey, it's going to relieve a lot of the pressure and keep you committed to like doing the daily work.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Told you, man, he's about to bring that hot fire. All right, so you heard it here today. Z came, he told you all about just how to get out of that funk, how to put in that work, how to stay consistent. And if you guys are liking these episodes, tell a friend, help this continual growth community grow. And don't forget, December 19th, we're having our growth talks. You can get tickets on Eventbrite. And if you use our promo code, you're gonna get 50% off. Yes, it's Pod Talks. And the next thing is growth coaching. Don't forget, we got growth coaching. If you're someone who's determined, you're hardworking, but you just know like you need more, you want more, but you're not getting that more, we will help you create goals. We'll help you create a plan. We'll help you stick to that plan and get to where it is that you want to go. And other than that, kill every day and own your fucking life. Bless up!